Hello, my name is Martin Miles, and during the course of this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know for getting started with Sifon, which is very, I would say, extremely powerful tool for DevOps, day-to-day activities, or anything else you need to do with Sitecore. You can get your own version of Sifon from this website. The URL is sifon.uk, and you can find download link, as well as plenty of documentation and video tutorials, as well as plugin library. My own copy of Sifon here, just extract it. Let's run it. On the very first run, Sifon shows you this welcome message where it briefly explains what you're supposed to do with creating your first profile. I'm going to show you that. So Sifon operates in terms of profile, where profile is a set of settings that create your context. Imagine you have a local instance of Sitecore. That means you would have features and parameters like web root, the installation folder, SQL Server settings, Solr configuration, and maybe some other bits. Before you run Sifon, you need to create a profile so that Sifon can do the rest of the magic operated in the context of these settings. As I said, I have a local Sitecore instance here on this virtual machine. One is called Digital Ecosystem. I will set it up now. Now I need to set up a prefix. My website is called digitalecosystem.local, which means Sitecore prefix is just digital ecosystem. For those installations where you have just a prefix, for example, your website is called platform and your prefix is platform, you will just use that name. Of course, admin password and admin username. Done. What I've done now is I created local profile, but to show you a bit more of that, I will create another one, which will be remote profile. Let's do that. I have another virtual machine which is running on the same network. There is another version of Sitecore installed, which is Sitecore 10, the very new one. As I just mentioned, it has profile name called platform and the same prefix. Also, I need to specify that given profile executes in a remote context. So I check this and provide further more details. First of all, remote host is whether IP address or just a DNS host name for that machine where you want to connect to. In my case is that. And of course you need to provide username and password for that machine, and that is because Sifon will use WinRM protocol to connect to that remote machine for doing PowerShell remoting. I provided those, and now I'm going to test the connectivity, which is pretty fine. I have the last bit, initializing the remote instance. This is very simple procedure. What it does under the bonnet is Sifon copying all the required assets into remote machine, and it creates two folders, one under your documents folder, another under PowerShell modules. It copies all the relevant assets into that folders. So far so good. I save and close, and now I have two profiles. I've got one remote and one local. So you may notice that some of the menu items are grayed out and not available. This comes because I haven't set up the whole profile, only just the bits, and I will fix it for now. I go into website tab. It shows me all the Sitecore websites I have installed on this machine, because I have plenty of websites but only one website with Sitecore, which is called digitalecosystem.local. I select the one, and Sifon magically finds the web root folder, and it finds me the hostname bindings for that website. So far so good. Now I need to set up the rest of configuration settings, which are connectivity 1 for SQL Server and Solr. Let's do SQL Server first. Test it. goes successfully. Done. Sifon has identified 2 Sitecore instances on this local machine. That's absolutely correct. I have 2 instances, 662 and 650. I have them both working in parallel, 1 and 2. My current website uses this one, so I select and save it. Good. Now I probably do the same for remote profile. Notice that we have another website. That happens because everything is done in a context of remote machine. So you see this is different website, different path, different everything. Also, I want to show that it is installed outside of inetpub folder. Sifon can successfully manage it all. It has only one HTTPS binding, and let's set up connectivities. This was a tricky moment. Everything that you do here is relevant to that remote machine. So basically I set up remote SQL Server. This is the user-friendly name, but that executes local to the place where script is running to that machine, because both Sitecore and SQL Server are running on the same machine. That's why for that Sitecore Sifon copy script, it will be local. You might remember initialize button I clicked in the beginning. It copied PowerShell modules to that remote machine, and for that PowerShell modules, SQL Server becomes local. Looks good and works good. Okay, well done. On that machine I have only latest version of Solar, which is 8.4.0, which is the minimum required for Sitecore 10. I'm quite happy and I save it. So now you see all the rest of the menus available. Probably show you a bit of more interesting stuff you can do with Sifon. If you see, we have plugins here. The only menu you see is Get Sifon Plugins. What it does under the bonnet is cloning the plugins from a remote repository. So this is a repository that has all the Sifon plugins, and they magically appear under the plugins menu. All that same folder structure as you see in GitHub, you get them here, with the only difference of containers folder, which I will show you later. So now I have a local profile, and let's see system info for that local profile. It shows me that the current machine name is based developer, and if I switch it to remote, it will show me different Windows 2004 as I set it up. But you may find this in the Sifon header caption. So you see profile name, host machine, and it identifies that this profile is remote. If I switch to local, it will show me local instance. So far so good. Another setting you may want to do is provide Sifon your Sitecore portal credentials. Do that for some plugins that may require you download assets from Sitecore developer portal. For example, if you go into installation plugins, most of them will do download assets. For example, Horizon 10 will just simply pull the necessary zip archive and install it. It won't be able to do that without providing your developer credentials. So instead of going and do things manually, Sifon will do all the things automatically for you. And that's valid for all these plugins. It will go and download it and install and patch and do all the relevant configurations, make it up and running just by executing the script. Now we also got containers. As you know, Sitecore 10 support containers. We can benefit from that as well. First of all, you may need to create a container profile which functions exactly in the same manner as just normal profiles under this menu. To make things simple for you, especially for those who try Sifon first time, I made set defaults button, which will pre-populate your fields into the getting started template provided by Sitecore. All you need to do is just simply set defaults and add a new profile, and here we go. Profiles for containers, they do work exactly in the same manner as profile for the rest of the systems, so you may just use drop down to switch between them. You may have different copies of different instances of repositories. You may run plenty of Sitecore in Docker in parallel. You can also do build and other maintenance scripts. All they will be executed against the currently selected profile. And another useful thing that you can get with plugins is that it can do all the prerequisites. Everything you may need to do to start with Docker is here. If you don't have Hyper-V and all the bits under the bonnet, you can just click one menu. Sifon will install it all. It will install Docker for Windows as well, Windows subsystem for Linux. It will configure all the bits and finally reboot your machine. Then all you need to do is just switch into Windows containers, and once done you'll be able to clone and prepare your Sitecore 10 instance in one click, and with the second click you will be able to build and run it, which will end up your instance being able to run in browser. So all the magically happens just in a matter of a few clicks. Sifon also has some built-in functionality for doing backups, removing your instances and restoring your backups into websites, the reverse process for backup. What I will do for next demonstration, I will go to my remote profile and I will do all the things in the context of remote machine. If I click backup, what happens is Sifon connects to the remote machine, to this machine in the header, and it identifies all the Sitecore websites running on it. Currently I have only one. Then it will look through all the features that this website has, namely Xconnect, identity server, publishing server, all the things. So I have very basic installation of Sitecore 10, which has only identity server and Xconnect. Those two are coming along with the main website as out of the box. Of course, you can install all the things and manage them together in a matter of just 3 checkboxes. It also finds all the database running on that instance, and I can select this database as well to be backed up and restore later. And now I need to specify the place where I want to make a backup. Let it be backups folder. Very important to see and explain that this is happening in the context of remote machine. So this is remote file structure. Those familiar with SQL Server Backup, you might remember then when you do backups with SQL Server Management Studio, you see remote file system. This is done in exactly the same manner as you see in SQL Management Studio. So this is remote file system, the same file system where you have Sitecore. I have it under this folder, all those 3 websites, and I want to back it up into backups folder. That's what I do. Nothing else to do here. I just click backup. It will do the rest of magic for me. It will take a little while. Sifon will care about all the Windows services, about all the process. It will stop IIS, do the backups, do database backups, place all the files into the provided folder on the remote machine, silently start everything again. The same works for remove, restore. It will do all this magic automatically for you. I won't tell you anything more than that during the course of this video. I think it was enough for you to play with Sifon, or at least hands-on getting started with it. I'm looking for your feedbacks. Thanks for watching.